is intensity and it's just freaking fire, pun intended. Holy moly cannoli, this was a freaking ride. Not only musically to my ears, but also lyrics-wise. There was a lot of thoughts and lots of stuff to kind of talk about. And we're gonna talk about it real soon here, but before we do, just a friendly reminder to please like and subscribe. And with that said, let's get into it. Jeez. Friggin' sick. Definitely, okay, maybe subliminally, the flames and the Skull Man here, I'm like, this is like Ghost Rider, man. Or just like Mad Max, or like, I don't know, like it's just got this like sick freaking guitar. It's ridiculous. Interesting vocal. Well, okay, so in the beginning, very, regular M shadows, but the way that even the chorus is regular M shadows, but he changes up his tone, which we do hear a lot in other songs from Avenged Sevenfold. And then that part where I think it's a section where he says, I could drown. Like he does that, the little dip and the whoa, kind of the feeling of just kind of sliding that, well, it's a slide. He's sliding that note down. And so it's just interesting the way that the tone changed up for the chorus, but I do want to look at the lyrics. So starting off, I've been traveling for so long, so lost, till I stumbled upon two roads in front of me. I had to take my time. To the right, I could see a church. I took a step in that direction first. But to the left, there was a watering hole where they were whiskey drunk. Ooh, they having a good time, I suppose. And now, that's where I want to pray. The fight down here goes on and on. If I was perfect, then this would be easy. Either road is plausible, on both I could drown. I walk through the center with no rules to guide me. I realize it's difficult, but now I can see. So, first thing that comes to mind is, meet the devil at the crossroads. And I think perhaps this is because they're saying that one way they're seeing a church and the next way they're seeing a watering hole where peeps are whiskey drunk. It gives me that, I feel like the crossroads, yes, meet the devil at the crossroads, but the devil is I think, and again, we still have quite a bit of the song to go, but for me, it sounds like mayhaps a addiction or just like a crutch, like it feels like it might be that, because watering hole also is kind of, if you think about people, well, the whole term, I guess, watering hole is a place where there is water, and usually it's surrounded by dry area of land. So the watering hole is kind of like a place where life is, where you will survive, where I feel like there's a lot of implication to the term watering hole. And so when they're saying it's one side is the church, one side is the watering hole, or they're whiskey drunk, like I feel like there's a lot of implications with using watering hole with saying that they're whiskey drunk. And then obviously the crossroads. I mean, you could also look at the crossroads as kind of like you're on a path through life, and all of a sudden you come to a crossroads and you have to make a decision. And it could just as simple as that. But I feel like there's a lot of meanings in the lyrics here. And then, if I was perfect, then this would be easy. I think that's another thing towards maybe talking about addiction, because it's kind of like, and I don't like to use I don't want to use the term if I was perfect. That's what they're using, obviously, but like it's implying that if I wasn't the way I am, this would be easy. I wouldn't take that route. The decision would be easy. I'd be like, no, I'm not going that way. I'm going to go this way. So, yeah. I think that's what it's talking about. But again, we are very early on in the song, so let's continue. But this is freaking banging, man. This is nutters. Now I can say there's gotta be another way to go, a way that's much more feasible. A combination of both these lives, a central path without choosing a side. I make decisions one at a time, and no one ever say I'm always right. I'm confident that when I stand on my own, you'll see the truest form of a man when I'm shining through. The fog down here goes on and on. If I was perfect, then this would be easy. Either road plausible, I'm both I can drown. I walk through the city with no rules to guide me. Fun. I realize it's difficult, but now I can say jeez. Oh, I hear them now, all the religions ring. The left isn't better, it's just more of the same. Condemning all these people for what they believe. I'll climb to the top of the mountain again. No harm is all the same this way. And the closer to the top I get, the more they take aim. But I'm not you. I may not be perfect, but I've always been true. I may not be worthy in your eyes. Climb up from the bottom for the last time. The last one, the last one, the last shot. Oh my god! Very fun. Oh my god. Okay, we're almost at the end. One into the next, like literally from like verse to like pre-verse or pre-chorus, post-chorus, verse. and then another verse, and I'm like, oh my god, it is intensity, and it's just freaking fire, pun intended. But let's finish this up, and then I have thoughts. I have thoughts, people.
If I were perfect, then this would be easy. Either road's plausible, I thought I could drown. I walk through the center.
Very fun.
With no rules to guide me. I realize it's difficult, but now I can say,
Ugh. Oh my god. Okay, that section, like, that like, hook that they have with the guitar, it is so hard not to, like, freaking just, like, like, headbang to it, and I'm like, ah! I do not have a very good, neck and shoulders, so I'm like this, and I'm like, no! Freaking fire, man. Freaking fire. Freaking fire. Okay. So, I think things definitely shifted throughout the rest of the song. So, I mean, that's the thing, is like, you can listen to the first portion of the song, and you can kind of get something, like, you can get some kind of vibes from it, but until you finish it, there isn't that full picture. And so, when they get further into the song, I know I never say I'm always right. I'm confident that when I stand on my own, you'll see the truest form of a man shining through. And then the left isn't better, it's just more of the same, condemning all these people for what they believe. To the right, I could see that. Okay. So I think what it's kind of symbolizing is, you know, two different kind of opposite groups. And the way that they use the left and the right, I think, I'm not going to dive into politics, but when you talk about politics, a lot of times it's like, oh, there's the left wing and the right wing. And so it feels like it's kind of talking a little bit about that, because they say the left isn't better, it's just more of the same, condemning all these people for what they believe. So I think it's more saying that, like, one, it's kind of like we all have faults, and there are always going to be pros and cons. And he says it in here, I'll climb to the top of their mountain again, no harness up to save me this way. So no support, you know. And the closer to the top I get, the more they take aim. But I'm not you. It just sucks, because it's kind of like, as a people, we get very divided. I think maybe that's what they're kind of talking about in this, is like, we get divided as a people. There's pros and cons on either side. And I hear them now, all the religious rhyme, you're a sin, you're a sin, you're a sinner. So kind of like, if you look at the crossroads that he's talking about, you know, the left, I think, going towards the watering hole, and the right going to the church, it's kind of like, your initial thought would probably be like, oh, whiskey drunk and church. The less sinful of the two would be the church. But there's darkness in that church as well. You know, there's darkness there that is very blatant. And so, you're a sin, you're a sin, you're a sinner. I hear them all now, all the religious rhyme. It's like, the church does not necessarily mean, you know, everything is dandy. It's great. And then he talks about, you know, like, I'm going to climb up that mountain, but the closer I get to the top, the more they take aim. It's kind of like this kind of mayhaps clique or something like that. And then he goes on to say, I may not be perfect, but I've always been true. I may not be worthy in your eyes. I feel like the term worthy also is kind of like, you know, worthy of Christ, worthy of God, worthy of, you know, that kind of thing. But then also, if you look at the imagery here, well, it's a skeleton dude, looking through an eyeglass at a gem and deciding if it's worthy, you know, in the sense of, is it valuable? Is it worth anything? Is it worthy? And, you know, a lot of times if it's not, you chuck it. And I think it's also, they're also kind of talking about that in here. But at the same time, it's like, I get so many different messages from this. Like, at first I was like, oh, maybe this is about addiction. And then I got a little bit farther and I'm like, oh, are they kind of talking about, you know, this divide between people, you know, and that you have to choose a side, even though you do not have to choose a side. And then going into more of the kind of the darker side of maybe his experience with religion, but also just, you know, religion does not have a good track record in terms of always being good and righteous, you know? Like, they have a very dark history. And to this day, deal with dark stuff that is, should I say, sinful. So I just feel like there's so much in this, and I don't know exactly, because usually when you look at a song, when you listen to a song, when you read the lyrics, there's kind of an overarching theme. And maybe this one is just, you know, talking about how people are divided. When you call somebody sinful, or you put that hate out there for them, that is a side. That is a choice or a decision that you're making to separate yourself from that person based off of, I don't know, whatever opinions you might have or hate you might hold or whatever it is. That's a choice, and that's a separation. And that is a crossroads, in a sense, because it is, you got two decisions. You got two routes. Maybe more routes, but we're using crossroads, so we're going to just say two. But I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. Actually, you know what? Let's look up what some people on the interwebs. Explores the anxiety of making significant choices and the search for personal identity between conflicting paths. The lyrics depict a struggle to choose between rigid, judgmental religion and indulgent vices, ultimately finding both options flawed, aiming to balance both while staying true to oneself. And that's the thing. Okay, so I kind of got it, but I kind of didn't, you know. There are two choices, but both have, you know, pros and cons. And you kind of have to take some from each if that is what you desire, and then move forward as yourself, your individual person. I'll make the comparison to therapy, you know, like anybody going to therapy, one tactic to help you deal with something might work for you and not for somebody else. So you kind of have to pick and choose what applies to you, because not everything will apply to everybody. And I think that's kind of this. But I mean, it's hard when you have, you know, two paths and you have so many thoughts in your head of like what I should do, how I should be, what I should think, how I should feel, what do people expect of me? Like, there's so many thoughts that kind of whittle down the one question that really matters is like, what is important to you? So that was wicked. That definitely took me down a rabbit hole. This is a fucking 20-minute video. Thank you guys so much for recommending this. This was an absolute motherfucking ride, as well as a kind of a deep dive into thoughts about the lyrics and things like that. So thank you very much for that. I hope that you guys enjoyed this reaction. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you cutie patooties in the next one. Bye, y'all.